There's a Harvard lawyer by the name of Eileen Connor, and she's going to discuss here whether or not Biden has the legal authority to cancel student debt. Watch this.
I'm going to talk about one simple question. Is it legal for President Biden to cancel student debt? The answer is yes. He can do it today without any other action by Congress. Let me explain why. Imagine you lend me $20. It's your $20. You can ask me to pay it back in full, in half, or not at all. Student debt cancellation works the same way. When someone takes out a federal student loan, they're borrowing money from the government, and the Constitution gives Congress the authority to control property of the government, such as debts owed to it. When Congress gave the Secretary of Education the authority to make or back student loans, it also gave the Secretary the broad and unrestricted power to cancel or write down that debt. This power was established under the Higher Education Act in 1965. That law gives the Secretary of Education the authority to compromise, waive, or release any right, title, claim, lien, or demand, however acquired. The Secretary also has the authority not simply to compromise debt, but to modify a student loan to zero. Secretary Betsy DeVos actually used this authority to cancel out a limited amount of student debt. Now, it's important to understand the purpose of the Higher Education Act. It was to make the benefits of higher education widely available, especially to those who otherwise couldn't afford it. Nobody else but the federal government was willing to lend to people with no credit history, no means, and only the chance at a bright future. But we decided to do it because education is so important to us as individuals and as a country. But the intent was not what we're seeing now. Worsening the racial wealth gap, driving up costs, reducing affordability and access, and triggering a repayment crisis. The nation today has a $1.7 trillion student debt burden, owed to the federal government by about 43 million Americans. At the Project on Predatory Student Lending, we represent over 1 million student borrowers who were cheated by for-profit colleges. And this is an industry that aggressively targets and scams people who are looking for jobs and careers in order to get its hands on federal student loan dollars. And their priority is enrollment, not education. We see how defaulting on student debt can cause poor credit, food insecurity, homelessness, inability to pay household debt, barriers to employment, and mental and physical health issues. It holds people back in their decisions to get married and have children or to do certain kinds of jobs that we as a country need doing. And this burden impacts the whole family, the whole community, the whole economy, not just the loan bearer. But we've also seen how debt cancellation can liberate Americans and their families. And with the COVID-19 pandemic, the government has paused federal student loan payments through September 2021. This has freed up households in this pandemic to spend money and help keep our economy going. And the ability to do that falls under the same authority to modify or outright cancel debts. In these examples and others, the law is clear. President Biden has the legal authority to cancel student debt. And doing so is not an end, but a beginning of necessary change we need to invest in higher education in a different way so that millions more Americans are not cheated out of their futures and saddled with student debt that they can never repay.
So it's not a question. There is not a question here. He 100% has the legal authority and the ability to cancel all student debt if he wanted to. He can do it. Now, what the administration is saying is actually kind of infuriating because they said, oh, Biden supports canceling up to $10,000 of student debt. That's it? Only $10,000? And he thinks Congress should get to work on it ASAP. So he's punting. He's punting, which means he really doesn't support it because it ain't going to get through. So if it's not going to get through and you have the authority to do it and you don't do it, it means you don't want to do it. That's what it means. So, listen, here's where you need a strong left and you need an unapologetic left. Because, as we've discussed previously, there are tactics, there are tricks you can use to force his hand. And the easiest one, and I say easy in the sense that it's easy to understand, not that it's easy to pull off, it'd be difficult, but they still should do it, is put a block on everything unless he does it. Listen, we're not going we're not going to allow anything through unless and until you cancel student debt. We'll block everything. All you need is a dedicated faction of Justice Democrats who are willing to fight. Sorry. We care so much about the $1.6, $1.7 trillion in student loan debt. We know how that's holding back a generation. We can eliminate that. And we're going to fight for these people because it's the right thing to do. And, okay, Joe, you don't want to do it? Fine. Well, then get comfortable with nothing ever getting done ever. We'll block everything. We'll block everything. Now, you want to be reasonable or you don't want to be reasonable? It's on you, bro. You can have things passed today. You can have things passed tomorrow. You just got to eliminate student loan debt, which you could do with the stroke of a pen. Go for it. Now, they're not going to do this. And it all goes back to the thing we've talked about a number of times, which is they have the right policy ideas, a lot of these people in D.C. on the left. The problem is there's no leadership and there's no discipline. You would need a true leader to step up to say, this is what we're going to do. This is what we're going to... And guess what? We're going to take incoming fire from the White House. We're going to take incoming fire from the media. And the Republicans are going to cackle and love the fact that we have a civil war going on. That's what's going to happen. But we need to stand strong because we're correct and we can win. You need leadership and you need discipline. You need discipline in the sense that you got to be able to hold 12 or 15 of them and say, everybody hold the line. Don't you dare buckle on this. Don't you dare buckle. We're all one. We are all one. We act as a unit. And what we're doing right now is we are going to eliminate student loan debt. So that's what you need to do. But listen, it takes balls. It takes balls. It takes willing to be smeared relentlessly. You know, that's what it takes. And I don't think they have what it takes, if I'm being honest. You need leadership and you need discipline. Sorry, but the left does not have leadership and they do not have discipline. And, you know, some people come after me because I repeatedly point out that they're not corrupt. You don't like that I say that? Fine, you don't like that I say that. But I'm factually accurate, and you're not if you say that they're corrupt. They don't take big money. They don't take corporate money. These are people who have the right policy ideas that agree with me 98% of the time, 99% of the time. So they're not my enemy. They're just incredibly weak, and they have no leadership, and they have no discipline. So that's the reality of the situation, and so they let us down all the time. But you don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. You try. Now we need to try to get leadership in there and have these people have discipline. And thankfully, at least there's some path here and there's some light at the end of the tunnel, because I do think that Nina Turner is going to provide a lot more leadership than anybody else would going to Congress. That's desperately what we're lacking on the left, is leadership and balls and knowing, like, you want to attack me? Attack me. I don't care. I go through it all the time. Pelosi, hate me. Schumer, hate me. Biden, hate me. But I'm going to force you to eliminate student loan debt. I'm going to do that. That's what we need. But we don't have fighters. And there is no leadership and there is no discipline. And so until we get to that point, it's all talk. But now you know for sure. Not me speaking. Harvard lawyer Eileen Connor, who's an expert on this, she's speaking. Biden has the ability to eliminate all student loan debt right now if he wanted to.